Hello. So I want to start talking about JavaScript. Hold on just a second. Okay, JavaScript. Now this is the portion that we went over in class on Thursday. I'm just going to I don't think I've made a video for this yet, so that's what this is. So one of the problems with object collections is that JavaScript will have to search through the entire collection to locate a specific item. If the object collection is large, this can be a time-consuming task and slow down the program. So the more efficient approach is to reference an element by its ID attribute using the expression document get element by ID and then by the ID. So we worked with, we started to go talk about IDs a little bit in CSS, or in the video I just made anyways. Anyway, sorry, that kind of confuses me sometimes. So what we've already discussed in class, and whenever I make the videos, like what did we discuss in class and what was just a video I made. So moving on, document get element by ID. And the ID on this one is date now. So we can refer it to by collection dot the ID reference. And the document get element by tag name, you can call it by the tag name, and document get elements by class name, the class, document get element by name, elements by name, and by ID. So I want to open up this notepad again, just to kind of show the commonality between here. Okay, so in this example, we have document get element, document.get element by ID. Document get element by ID. And then we have the ID name. Okay, then we can do document get elements by class name. Then we have the class name. Document get elements by name. Then we have the name. And one of the things that I pointed out in class, like what is the commonality between all three of these examples? Okay, and that is the document get element by part. And this is case sensitive, so if you make mistakes like that, it will mess you up. But VS Code does that for you, so yeah. So what I wanted you guys to see the commonality about this is the document get element or document get elements by. That is the same no matter if you're doing it by the ID, by the class name, or by the name. The difference between this one, this has no S, and this has it, these other ones do have S's, is because the ID can only be used one time in a document, so that's why there's no plural version of that. That's been known to mess me up because I just get so used to everything. Yeah. So there's only S's on the ones where there can be multiples. There is no S on this one right here because you can only have one. So there's no reason for there to be an S. So no S's. But everything else about this are the same. Okay. We're telling JavaScript, this code is saying we're going to look at the document and we're going to look for an element based on their ID name, their class name, or their name. Okay. Changing properties and applying methods. An object can be modified in two ways, either by changing the object's properties or applying a method. Object properties. An object property is accessed by using the following expression, object, and then the property. So object is a reference to object, and property is a property associated with the object. So document is an object. Okay. And property is that. For example, tutorial. Okay, we're not going to talk about tutorial 8 because we haven't done tutorial 8. It's going to move on from that. We're not going to put too much time into that right now. Applying a method. So remember we did the window.alert, welcome to Tulsa. So in this command, the window object represents the browser window, and the alert method is a method that displays a dialog box within the browser window. So we have that pop-up of welcome to Tulsa. Writing HTML code. So the HTML code that is stored within a page element can be referenced throughout the following with the following inner HTML property. So you can basically, if you can have a line, if it says, if the line is blue, it'll say this line is blue. If somebody clicks on it and makes the line red, it will change the HTML content to say this line is red. We're going to do this by example. Okay, good. The example stuff. Minimize that. Get rid of this. Going to close out this folder. Open a folder. I want to be in JavaScript. Week. Yeah, it's still week 1. That's not right. What did I do? Oh, JavaScript. Sorry. I think I don't know. JavaScript 1. We're still in 9. Tutorial. Select folder. Okay, and it has our tiny clock stuff. So let's see here. So we're going to look at the tiny script.js file, and I need to update that here. Okay, so I'm just going to rename it. So it's the correct name based off the previous exercises. All right. And so directly below the closing comment here, we're going to type in another comment to say we're going to display the current date and time. Document get element. Okay, this is what I was talking about, what VS Code does. You start typing it and it's going to automatically fill it in the rest of it based off whichever you decide. And get element by ID is what I want. Date now dot enter HTML equals month day. Break H colon M colon S. It's got the close parentheses and the semicolon. I want to hit Alt Z to word wrap it, hit save. Okay. So what this shows is document get element by ID, references the element with the ID attribute of date now, and the inner HTML property of the code within the element. So let's look up that HTML that's referring to, which was this. And the reason I'm renaming it this way is because I did not do the previous exercises on this computer. So where I'm renaming it, you should have already had this other name because you've been already completed the exercises on the computer that you're working on. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay. Make this bigger. I think it was down here. Date now. No. Okay, date now. It's on line 40. I'll click up here in the top right hand to split the editor and close out this tiny clock HTML on that side. So we have, I'm going to do the word wrap. On line 40, you can see date now is the name of the ID. It's got a capital N for camel. It's got camel casing with a capital N. This has to be the exact same way. So let's see what it looks like. Okay. That's not what it should look like, but I do. Okay. So in the previous exercises, we did this, and you still need to link the script source, tiny underscore script .js, defer, because I remember that, and then we have the closing script. Now let's see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what I wanted to see, right? At the top left-hand corner. Previously, before I go ahead and do that, before I put that script tag in there, it had November 3rd, 2017 with the time. That's not correct. Whenever we was doing with an inner HTML, we are replacing that HTML that was on line 4D, because that's the HTML currently says that date and that time. But we want to replace that HTML, that syntax right there, that content, to say this. So we're doing that with JavaScript by linking the JavaScript tag, as you see here. Defer was to tell the browser not to look at that stuff until the whole web page is loaded. Okay, and then once I refresh the page, okay, it's correct. That's how we want to see it. So because this is we know this is a string because it's got the quotes around it. If it was not a string, it would be no quotes. So to indicate a string, it's got to have quotes, and then to not be a string, no quotes. We'll talk about that more. Okay, that's what we have. There's some other ways, like we've been using we use inner HTML right now. There's other ways that you can use this kind of a method. And what we're getting ready to talk about is using the text content. So let's see. In the JavaScript, close that out. we're going to write this content right here. Display the time left until New Year's Eve. Document, I'll take out a space. I don't want that much space. Document, get element by ID, days dot text. Oh. Dot text content equals DD. Document get HRS text content equals HH. Document get element by ID equals pen. Something's messed up. Pens dot text. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Okay. So we should have something that looks like that. Mine got word wrap on, so that's why it's 2 lines on some of them. So we're looking for the document. Going to open up a split screen. Get rid of that one. That's not what I wanted to do. Open up tiny clock. Now do split screen. Get rid of that one. Close that so I can see my workspace. Do Alt-Z to word wrap this. So if you go down to on the HTML page, around line 45, it starts with a div ID of countdown. And then you see individual IDs of days, hours, minutes, seconds, and so on and so forth, right? Oh, that's it. There is no so on and so forth. So we already have the date now. We already talked about that one. So we have the days. This days is going to correspond with this days. This hours is going to correspond with this hours. This mins is going to correspond with this mins. This seconds is going to correspond with this seconds. Okay? But we're wanting it to say, instead of, right now it says, let's see. Okay. Right now it says 58, 10, 14, 48, right? Which is what it says right here. 58, shoot. Let's get rid of this one. So it's 58, 10, 14, and 48, right? 58, 10, 14, 48. 58 days. This says 58 days, 10 hours, 14 minutes, 48 seconds. Okay. Now you see how we have a span ID, and it gives the ID of days as I was showing with the JavaScript file earlier. And then it breaks that, ends that span. Okay. So we are wanting to talk about this 58 number, or 58 text. That's it. We're going to leave the days alone because it's not part of that span. That span ID of days includes that number 58 and ends that span. Same thing for this. Span ID of hours has that number 10 and then it ends. Span ID of mins has that number 14 and then it ends. Span ID of seconds, of sex, has 48 and it ends. These, but then it has a break to go on the next line. And then it has the word days. with no span or anything, right? Don't worry about those divs right now. We'll talk about that another time. So open up JavaScript again. Let's move that over. Close this. Okay. So once I hit save and refresh that page, what it's going to do is it's going to replace the content of 58. We're going to tell, we want the new text content to be DD. For number 10, we want the new text content to be HH. For 14, we want the new text content to be MM. For 48, we want the new text content to be SS. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save whatever I need to save in here and refresh that page. And it now says DDHHMM. Oh, 48 didn't happen. What happened to 48? Oh, I had a typo there. Okay, SS for seconds. Okay, so let's go back on to this. Where we go? So another way to write HTML content to the web page document is with the following method of document.writeText. So on this example, we're in the, it says header, which is a component of an HTML file. So let's look at our HTML file. Move this down here, see if that helps. No, it doesn't. Hold on. Try and get situated so I don't have to keep opening and closing it. Okay, I'll try it. Okay, so I have it split horizontal now. Let's see if that helps me. Okie dokie, where am I at? So I'm in the header. So there's my opening header. I want to go, where am I at? Closing header. Okay, I'm just going to go right above my closing header and write script document dot write open parentheses H1 welcome to Tulsa, and the closing H1 tag. So we get a Tulsa's New Year's bash, and yeah, it goes right on top of, you can see welcome to Tulsa as now like rightly overlapping with New Year's Eve bash. Don't know if that was the intent of that. I think it was. Let's see. For text, as the document write method is most often used with embedded scripts, writing content directly into the document as it is being loaded by the browser. For example, the following code uses an embedded script to write an H1 element heading directly to the web page header. Note that if this method is applied after the HTML file is completely loaded by the browser, it would overwrite all of the HTML content in the document, replacing the code with the text specified in the document.write method. If you want to modify the page after it's been loaded in the browser should only use to enter HTML or text content properties. I think. I wasn't quite sure what the goal of that was. Overlap? I don't think so. But move this down a little bit. So what was it that we replaced that we kind of went over? Welcome to New Year's Eve bash. Okay. Which was this right here. New Year's Eve bash. Let's comment that out and refresh. Welcome to Tulsa. Yeah. It's one of those things, I don't know why you would do it this way as opposed to just writing it in here, but there may come a time where that might be handy, I suppose. Okay, moving on. Okay, keep going. So because you use a specific text string with the inner HTML text content properties, your script did a little more than what you would have accomplished by entering the HTML code directly into the web page document. JavaScript is much more powerful and versatile when used in conjunction with variables. A variable is a named item in a program that stores a data value, such as a number or text string or an object. So remember in the second day of class, we made a metaverse app. And in this section right here, as we said, we just want to accept somebody's name who was playing this. What's your name? And they would type in a response. And in this block, wait for it to still download. We had to give that particular variable, it calls it a key in this, but that's an example of a variable, of a player name. That is a variable, okay? And then we called upon that variable within the protocols of this metaverse thing, of the $, the curly brackets, props. Then we had to call that key name again by the exact same case and everything, camel casing, to start the game, to use that person's name. So yeah. So we're going to talk about variables a little bit on this, how in depth we're going to get into it. So you can declare a variable by using the following var keyword. So you declare a variable by whatever variable name. You can, whatever name you use is fine. You can do anything as unclear as X or Y. You should not use X or Y as a variable name because nobody knows what X or Y is supposed to be. Use a variable name like current day. Okay, that's a pretty good chance that we can tell that you're talking about the current day. You do not have to provide the value for a variable when you declare it. You can just say var current day, and that's declared. You now have a variable name current day. Do the same thing with current month and current year. Just declare it and it exists. So JavaScript imposes the following limits on variable names. It must begin with a character, or the first character must begin with a letter or underscore character. The other characters can be letters, numbers, or underscore characters. cannot contain spaces, and cannot use names that are part of JavaScript language itself. So there's some protected words, and the same thing goes for HTML and CSS. There are some protected words just because it means something for those languages of HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, such as document has its own meaning, window, and text content. You cannot use those to be variable names. Now it talks about here about how can use underscore characters. You saw me using camel spacing, where the first letter begins with a lowercase and the next word in that particular, if there's multiple words, it begins with an uppercase letter. Or you can also, if you prefer, you can have a method of just doing underscores in between each words. If you're working by yourself, just develop some standards so you know what you're doing and have some uniformity of it. If you're working within an organization or in a bigger part of a team, see what those standards are so you can comply with those standards. If they want to use camel casing on their variable names, use camel casing. If they say use underscores to separate words, use underscores. So just take that into consideration in regards to setting some standards, because it's just going to make your life easier later on. So you have a variable name equals a value. So current day, they use camel casing in this example, is that. So variables and data types. So there's different types of data types in JavaScript. There's numeric, there's text, there's Boolean, there's objects, and null values. A numeric one is 13, 22.5. It can be whole numbers or it can be fractions represented with decimals. It's considered a number. There's no quotes used in a numeric value. For example, pull this back open. 2018 is not the same as 2018. Okay, 2018 is a numeric value and can be used for computational purposes. So depending on when this starts, there's 365 days in a year, right? 365, not 265, 365 days in a year. And if we have the computation or formula set in there, says after like writing some bad pseudocode on this, 365 days, the 2018 will change to 2019, right? Something along those lines. There's going to be a computation factor to it. So if we use the quotes of 2018 and make it a string, there is no computational. There is no computational anything. Okay. It will not automatically change to 2019 after 365 days. Okay, you have to go in there and manually update it to have to manually update from current. You have to manually update. So it would be current year equals, if you specifies it like this, and then you have to do it again, current year equals 2019, whenever that need arises. So that's the difference between using quotes and not using quotes. It's a string, not a string. It's computational. It's a number. So a text string is May. You have it in here as a text string. It's May on that example. It's not going to change until you actually tell it to. Boolean value is it's either true or false. It's off or it's on. Those are the only two possible values for a Boolean. So is it May is true or is April is false? So if the variable, we declare a variable of is May is true, is April is not, it's false. Boolean values are often used in programs that must respond differently to different conditions. The is May variable cited above might be used in a program that tests whether its current month is May. If the value is set to true, then the program runs differently than if it was set to false. Note that if no value is assigned to a Boolean variable, it is interpreted or having a value of false. It's default to being no, false. Variables that represent objects can be used to simplify code by removing the need to rewrite long and sometimes complicated object references. Thus, the following date div variable. So we're declaring a variable, naming it date div, and equals a dot get element by ID of date now. So it's looking for the document and getting the element by the ID of date now. A null value indicates that there is no value that has been assigned to the variable. So for a variable of current date, you can say there's no value assigned yet, or we can just do, as indicated on the previous page, of just doing the current day. This means the same thing. JavaScript is a weakly typed language, which means that you can, like this variable of a current month, right now it's a number because there's no strings, and then we can say later on it's going to be a string because it has the quotes. So it's not strictly enforced at all. It's weakly typed language, I guess is the correct term for it. So like this is an example of it. Current year, let's do this current year one again. Okay, right now I'm saying that the current year, just let's declare it as a variable using the word var. Declaring the current year as a variable, I'm saying it's a number because there's no quotes on it. I'm going to declare it again later on as the current year, same variable name, but now I'm saying that it's a string because it has quotes around it. So that's what it means. It's a weakly typed language. So we're going to use a variable. After you have created a variable, you can use it in JavaScript statements in place of a value it contains by inserting the variable name into a command or expression. So we have the date div, and we're declaring that variable as a document get element by ID. The mastiff came out. You can hear her jowls flapping. Okay, we have a variable named date div. Equals a document get element by ID, date element by ID of date now. The date div dot enter HTML is May 3rd, 2018. So the effect of this is the same as if you inserted the following command into your program: a document dot get element by ID of date now dot enter HTML equals May 3rd, 2018. The only way that I can tell you that's going to make sense is just when you do it in exercises. It's very confusing, I know, and I don't have a simple answer to that, as short of just practicing. Yes. So the advantage of using a variable is that having defined the date div variable, you can use it throughout the program without having to re-enter a long and complicated object reference every time. So we declared a variable named date div, and we're saying that this is what it means. Okay. So we don't have to type in all of that every single time. So working with date objects, one type of object you can store in a variable is a date object, which is built-in JavaScript object used to store information about dates and times. Date objects are defined using the following expression. So we have a new date equals a month, day, year, and age, hours, minutes, seconds. Okay. So we have a variable, this date equals new date in the May 23rd, 2018. Note that the time values are based on a 24-hour time, so that a value of 2:35 p.m. would be entered as 14:35. If you omit the hours, minutes, and seconds values, JavaScript assumes that the time is 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. So just think military time. In other words, midnight or the specified day. Yeah. If you omit both a date and a time value, the date object returns the current date and time based on a computer system's clock. So the following command stores a date object containing the current date and time in this date variable. So we have a variable named this date equals new date, which we already declared up there. You can also define a date using this expression, new date, as you can see right there, where year, month, day, hours, minutes, and seconds are numeric values for the date and time. The month value is entered as an integer from 0 to 11, where 0 equals January, 1 equals February, because remember, everything in computer code starts with the number 0. And so 0 is January, 1 is February, December would be 11. So times values are again expressed in a 24-hour, which is military time. So to create a date object, use the new date, as you can see right there. To create a date object, use the numeric values. You can see that right there. To create a date object using the current date and time, just use date right there. Okay. So we're going to create a date object. Okay. We're going to play with something else. Hold on, let me get set up. I have a dog. Trying to get him out. Okay, I'm back, and I got a dog wanting to go out. So we're going to create a date object. Okay, so we're going to open up TinyScript, just down here for me. And so directly before the closing comment line near the top of the file, insert. Directly below, below, okay. Store the current date and time. So we're going to create a variable, current day, equals new date, equals what? New date, May 23rd, 2018. $18, 1435.05. 35.05. Shoot. I think this is getting started with the homework. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here, and we'll make a new one talking about this.